Okay, get ready, because we're taking a deep dive into a story that might just leave you speechless.
You could say that.
It's the 19th century.
Mm-hmm.
Cuba,
Yeah. Right.
this terrifying epidemic, yellow fever, is just ravaging the island.
Yeah, absolutely.
People are turning yellow.
Yeah.
They're suffering from internal bleeding.
Uh-huh.
The death toll is out of control.
It was a nightmare.
It was a nightmare.
Yeah, and for years, the medical community, they're just totally stumped.
Can't figure it out.
They can't figure out what's causing it.
Right.
And they're convinced it's spread through bad air.
Bad air.
Yeah, what they call miasma.
Miasma.
Like this, filth and decay in the air.
Oh, wow.
So they're blaming the air itself.
That's wild.
It is pretty wild when you think about it now.
So we've got this medical mystery on our hands.
Big time.
And then into all of this fear and confusion steps Carlos Finlay,
Yes.
a Cuban doctor with this radical idea that's going to challenge everything everyone thought they knew about yellow fever.
He really turned the medical world upside down.
So tell me about Finlay.
Well, Finlay,
Where'd he come from?
he was Cuban,
Okay.
born and raised, but he actually studied medicine in the U.S.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then he made this really important decision to go back to Cuba. He wanted to help his people.
That's admirable.
Yeah, and he saw how much they were suffering.
From yellow fever.
Exactly.
So what was this groundbreaking idea?
So his theory was bold.
Okay.
Really bold. He said it wasn't bad air spreading the disease. It was mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes.
Yes.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it sounds crazy now, but
Right.
you got to remember, this is way before we understood how viruses work. We didn't have the tools to study them like we do now.
So he's going up against like the entire medical establishment with this idea.
He was...
That's got to take guts.
Oh, he had guts for sure.
So how did he come up with this mosquito theory?
He was a dedicated researcher.
Guts.
Spent years just meticulously studying the disease, examining patients,
Right.
doing experiments, even exposing volunteers to mosquitoes.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
Exposing volunteers to mosquitoes.
He thought they were carrying the disease.
That's dedication.
He even published his findings.
When was this?
All the way back in 1881.
1881.
He laid out his whole mosquito theory in detail.
I'm guessing people didn't exactly roll out the red carpet for him.
No, not exactly.
What was the reaction?
Let's just say it was not enthusiastic. More like skepticism and ridicule.
So people just laughed him off.
Pretty much for almost 2 decades.
2 decades.
Yeah, his papers, they were dismissed.
Oh, wow.
Experiments questioned.
And I bet his reputation took a hit, too.
Oh, it did.
Can you imagine pouring your heart and soul into research just to be met with mockery and disbelief?
It's heartbreaking.
It would make anyone give up.
You'd think so, right?
But not Finlay.
Not Finn.
What kept him going?
Well, remember, this wasn't just some intellectual exercise for him. He was living in Cuba. He was seeing firsthand the devastation.
From yellow fever.
Exactly.
So this wasn't theoretical for him.
Not at all.
This was personal.
Absolutely. He saw the fear in people's eyes, the grief of families being torn apart.
That's powerful.
It fueled him.
So it was more than just proving a point.
Way more.
This was about making a real difference.
Saving lives.
Wow, that adds a whole other layer to his story.
It really does. It reminds us that sometimes the most groundbreaking discoveries, they come from a place of deep personal connection.
This burning desire to alleviate suffering.
Yeah, to make the world better.
So we've got Finlay tirelessly pushing his mosquito theory,
Yep.
while the rest of the world's stuck on this bad air idea.
Right.
What finally changes the tide?
Well, it took a devastating war
War.
and a new set of eyes on the problem.
Okay, tell me more.
The Spanish-American War.
Okay.
It brought yellow fever to the forefront.
How so?
American soldiers stationed in Cuba,
Uh-huh.
they started falling victim to the disease
Oh, no.
at an alarming rate.
So now it's a problem for the U.S. military.
Exactly. They're concerned about their troops.
Rightfully so.
So they send a special commission,
What was it called?
the Yellow Fever Board.
Okay.
Their mission, figure out what's causing this outbreak and hopefully stop it.
So this is a turning point,
Huge turning point.
not just for Finlay,
Right.
but for our understanding of yellow fever itself.
Absolutely.
Who's leading this commission?
A U.S. Army doctor named Walter Reed.
Walter Reed.
And you could say that Finlay's years of dedicated research,
Even though it was often ignored,
yeah,
it was about to pay off in a way he never could have imagined.
that's an understatement.
All right, so Reed and his team, they arrive in Cuba determined to crack this yellow fever mystery.
They were on a mission.
Do they go straight to Finlay?
Well, this is where Finlay's generosity and commitment to saving lives really shines.
Even after being dismissed and ridiculed for years,
Yeah.
what did he do?
He welcomed them with open arms,
Wow.
shared his years of research, his detailed notes.
He didn't hold back anything.
True. He even provided them with the specific type of mosquito he believed was responsible.
Talk about taking the high road.
I know, right?
After everything he'd been through, he was still willing to help these people who had doubted him.
He was a remarkable man.
Incredible. So, what happens next?
Well armed with Finlay's research and those precious mosquito eggs, Reed and his team set up a series of rigorous experiments.
Wow.
What they discover changes the course of medical history. They were able to prove conclusively that yellow fever was transmitted by mosquitoes,
Mosquitoes.
specifically the Aedes aegypti mosquito.
So after years of being dismissed and ridiculed, Finlay's theory was finally validated.
It was a huge victory for science and for Finlay himself.
I bet that felt pretty vindicating for him.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine the relief and satisfaction.
Did he get any recognition at the time?
He did, actually, General Leonard Wood.
Is that?
He was the military governor of Cuba at the time.
Okay.
He publicly praised Finlay, called his discovery the greatest medical advance since Jenner and his vaccination.
Wow. High praise indeed. So from being ostracized by the medical community to being hailed as a hero.
That's quite a turnaround.
It really is. But beyond the personal vindication, what was the real impact of Finlay's discovery?
Well, the implications were monumental, not just for Cuba, but for the entire world.
How so?
Think about it. Before Finlay's discovery, people were fighting yellow fever blindly.
What do you mean?
They were trying to avoid bad air,
Right.
burning clothes, quarantining the sick.
They had no idea how it was really spreading.
Exactly. It's like trying to fight a shatter.
You know, it's there is causing harm.
But you can't quite grasp it, let alone defeat it.
Finlay's discovery gave them a tangible enemy to fight.
The mosquito.
So now they knew what to target.
And that's key. Armed with this knowledge, public health officials could finally implement effective control measures.
Like what?
Draining swamps where mosquitoes breed,
Okay.
using insecticides, encouraging people to use mosquito nets.
So Finlay's work didn't just change our understanding of the disease.
No, it provided the tools to actually combat it.
What kind of impact did these new control measures have?
The results were dramatic. Within a few years of implementing mosquito control measures,
Based on Finlay's discovery.
yellow fever cases plummeted.
Give me an example.
In Havana, Cuba, for instance.
Okay.
Yellow fever deaths dropped by an astounding 90%.
90%.
It's incredible.
That's a testament to the power of Finlay's discovery.
Absolutely. It's hard to even fathom the number of lives that were saved.
Thanks to his relentless pursuit of the truth, even when no one believed him.
And the impact went far beyond Cuba.
Where else?
His work paved the way for the eventual eradication of yellow fever in the entire Western Hemisphere.
Wow, an entire half of the world freed from this deadly disease.
All thanks to one man who dared to challenge conventional wisdom.
It makes you think about the power of one person, one idea to change the world.
It's inspiring, isn't it?
What if Finlay had given up?
What if he'd listened to the doubters?
The world would be a very different place today.
No doubt about it.
So what happened to Finlay after his theory was finally vindicated?
Well, he received recognition and accolades from all over the world.
As he should have.
He was awarded honorary degrees, invited to speak at international conferences.
I bet that felt good.
And he was even nominated for the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine.
Wow. So he finally got the recognition he deserved.
He did. But you know what's even more remarkable?
What's that?
His response to all this newfound fame, he remained incredibly grounded.
That's impressive.
Focused on his work, never let the accolades go to his head.
So he wasn't in it for the glory.
Not at all. He was in it for the good of humanity.
He continued his research, mentored younger scientists.
And remained dedicated to improving public health in Cuba.
He sounds like an amazing person.
He was a true inspiration.
His story really makes you think about what true success looks like.
It's not about the awards or the recognition.
It's about the positive impact we have on the world.
The lives we touch, the difference we make.
Finlay's impact was immeasurable. His tireless pursuit of the truth led to one of the most significant public health victories in human history.
It's hard to imagine what the world would be like today if he hadn't made that crucial discovery.
If he hadn't had the courage and persistence to challenge the prevailing dogma of his time.
His story holds important lessons for all of us.
No matter what field we're in or what challenges we face,
It reminds us to stay curious, to question assumptions.
To never give up on our ideas, even when they seem impossible.
Because sometimes those impossible ideas turn out to be the ones that change the world.
And that brings us to an important question.
What's that?
Finlay's story. It also raises some thought-provoking questions about how we approach new ideas.
Right.
How we treat those who dare to think differently.
It took almost 2 decades for Finlay's theory to be accepted.
And during that time, countless people suffered and died from yellow fever.
It makes you wonder how many other brilliant minds are out there.
How many groundbreaking ideas are being ignored or dismissed?
Simply because they challenge the status quo.
How many mosquitoes are waiting to be discovered?
If only we had the courage to look for them.
To listen to those who see the world a little differently.
That's a question we all need to grapple with.
How can we create a world where groundbreaking ideas are embraced?
Rather than rejected.
Where those who challenge conventional wisdom are supported?
Instead of silenced.
It's a challenge, but it's worth striving for.
Absolutely.
What's the first step?
I think it starts with cultivating a culture of open-mindedness.
Okay.
Intellectual curiosity, where we value diverse perspectives and encourage critical thinking.
Instead of dismissing ideas that seem outlandish or challenging.
We need to create spaces where those ideas can be explored, debated, and tested rigorously.
So it's about creating an environment where it's okay to be wrong.
Right.
Where failure is seen as a learning opportunity.
Not a mark of shame.
And it's about recognizing that progress often comes from unexpected places.
From those who are willing to take risks to challenge the status quo.
To think outside the box.
Maybe, just maybe, if we can foster that kind of environment, we'll see more Finlays emerge.
More groundbreaking discoveries.
That push the boundaries of human knowledge.
And improve the lives of countless people.
I certainly hope so.
The world needs more people like Carlos Finlay.
Courageous, persistent, and dedicated to making a real difference.
Well, on that inspiring note, I think we need to take a quick break.
Sounds good.
When we come back, we'll delve deeper into the legacy of Carlos Finlay.
Okay.
And explore some key takeaways from his remarkable journey.
Looking forward to it.
That we can all apply to our own lives.
We're back and, thinking about Finlay's story, and it really makes me think about those mosquitoes that we all face in life. Those doubts, those obstacles, those voices in our heads telling us to play it safe.
Right, to stick with what we know.
To not rock the boat.
Absolutely. Those voices can be loud.
They can be so loud.
And they can really hold us back. So what can we learn from Finlay's experience? How can we cultivate that same courage and persistence?
I think one of the key takeaways from Finlay's story is the importance of nurturing our own intellectual curiosity.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to question the accepted norms.
Yeah.
Dig deeper, explore alternative perspectives.
Embrace that what-if mentality.
Exactly. What if it's not bad air? What if it's mosquitoes? What if there's a better way to do things?
What if?
Right. Those what-ifs can lead to amazing discoveries.
So don't be discouraged if your ideas are met with resistance.
Right. Finlay faced decades of rejection before his theory was finally accepted.
Decades.
It's tough, but persistence is key.
If you truly believe in something, keep pushing.
Keep refining your ideas, keep seeking out new evidence.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's a great way to put it, and remember the journey might be long and arduous.
There will be setbacks.
Disappointments, moments where you question everything.
But as Finlay's story shows us, the rewards can be transformative.
Not just for yourself, but for the world around you.
And it's not just about having those groundbreaking ideas. It's also about being open to the ideas of others.
Absolutely.
Finlay's breakthrough wouldn't have happened without Walter Reed and his team being willing to listen.
Right, even though those ideas seem far-fetched at first.
It's about creating that dialogue.
A two-way street.
We need to be both courageous in sharing our own ideas, but also receptive to the ideas of others.
Even if they challenge our current understanding.
Absolutely. So to wrap things up, what's the one message we want our listeners to take away from Finlay's story?
Never underestimate the power of your own ideas.
Don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Embrace your inner Finlay, that spark of curiosity and determination.
The drive to seek out the truth, to make a difference, to leave the world a little better than you found it.
Well said, and remember, you don't have to be a world-renowned scientist or doctor to make a difference.
We can all be Finlays in our own way.
In our families, our communities, our workplaces.
So go out there, embrace your curiosity. Challenge those mosquitoes of doubt and fear.
Never stop pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Your mosquito moment might be just around the corner.
You never know.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the life of Carlos Finlay.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
We hope you've been inspired.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep making the world a more curious and courageous place.